You're listening to episode 151 of the Small and Supercharged podcast with Ria Freeman. Hi, and welcome to this episode of the Small and Supercharged podcast. It is a solo with me. And today we're going to talk about which social media platform you should be on, or which social media platforms should you be on, because there are a lot of them. And especially when you're starting out, completely when you don't have anything, or even if you're thinking of how you can increase your reach, increase your influence, increase whatever you want to do, it can still be really, really overwhelming to know which one to pick. With more and more appearing all the time, and more depth being added to all of them, I think it's really easy to get overwhelmed, to spend huge amounts of time dashing from one to the other, trying to kind of claw your way up there, feeling rather despondent about it when you don't perhaps make the impact that you want to make. But today, I hope I'm going to have some tips and tricks that are going to help you to select the right social media platforms for you. Hopefully some tips as well about how to take them and grow them so you don't feel horribly overwhelmed. And yeah, I really hope I'm going to help you. That's what I'm here to do. If you do listen, I would love you to screenshot and share to stories. It always absolutely delights me to see you listening and enjoying. And I'd also love to know which platforms you're on. If you fancy going the extra mile, feel free to send me a DM, particularly on Instagram. I'm at Ria Freeman PR over there. But yeah, screenshot, share to stories. I'd love to see if you are listening. I'd love to see if you think I've made any sense. I mean, I've only just got started, so I'm just warming up at the moment. I would really appreciate that. And also, I wanted to say that next week, if I've got my weeks right, or obviously depending on when you are listening, keep an eye on my socials, we will be running a live series of lives, clearly, in the Small and Supercharged group where the masterminders will be showcasing what's new for the new season. So for the new competition season, for the new season like summer, and also, you know, as we're all having these changes, moving from more restrictions to less restrictions, products and services that are going to help you do that beautifully too. If you're interested in the mastermind group, just nip over to riafreemanpr.co.uk and you'll find mastermind up the top. But now back to which social media platform should you be on? Should you be on all of them? Not all at once, no, not all at once. So let's imagine you're starting from zero. You have got no social media platforms, or perhaps you have got, maybe you've got a personal Facebook account, not a business page, but you are wanting to promote yourself as an influencer or an ambassador. An influencer with the view of becoming an ambassador or becoming sponsored or something like that. Maybe you're starting a brand, or maybe you are wanting to promote your business better. So let's imagine for a moment that we've got an absolute blank canvas and you don't know where to go, because there are a lot. Obviously, you've got your Facebook, your Instagram, your Twitters, your TikToks, your YouTubes, your Snapchats, LinkedIn, and that's just a few. Like, there are more. And it's overwhelming because all of them are big things. They've all got different ways of communicating a message. They all work in a slightly different way. They all have different numbers of users. They all appeal to different audiences. It's a lot. And especially if you're starting from nothing, it is a heck of a lot, because not only do you have to get on and use these platforms and learn about how every little bit of the platform works, you also have to grow on there. I know we've talked about, and we will talk about again, the number next to or underneath your name not being the be all and end all. And it isn't. It absolutely is not. Engagement and engaged followers and quality followers are infinitely better than a big old number under your name when no one cares. But we still want to grow our followers with the right people, but we still want to see that number grow. So we are getting our message out to more people, because whatever kind of content you create, it takes time. Yes, perhaps a picture that you've got on your phone doesn't take you huge amounts of time. But when you get into it, when you look at how you're going to improve the quality of those images, for example, when you're thinking about quotes that you can put out there, that you can design in a beautiful way and make a lovely graphic, let alone when you start to move over into video territory, which just takes on a whole different life, it takes a lot of time. And of course, then you start investing in kit. Maybe you invest in courses to up level and upskill yourself, which is all completely fine. And it all takes time. You've also got the time of actually posting the content, of engaging with the people that use that platform to help you get more engagement, but also to get to know people through the platform and to network. And even just getting to use the platform, you need to dedicate a certain amount of time just to being a user, to engaging with other people's content, to learn, to look at what works, to look at what doesn't work. There's a lot of time for each platform that you need to dedicate. And that's why I would strongly advise, if you're starting from zero, don't go at them all at once, because you'll break yourself. It is exhausting. You can't do everything really, really well all the time, especially when you don't have any foundations. By which I mean, you don't know all the background stuff, and they're not all the same. I guess it's a bit like at school. If you just, like, first day of school, you don't just start with all the separate sciences, maths, loads of languages and everything else, because that would be massively overwhelming. As you move through your school, you build up. So I know, my children are in reception. I think they did just phonics to start with, or phonics and reading, or phonics, reading and maths. I've not seen any of them running around with a test tube trying to see if they can create an experiment. I haven't heard them speak Spanish yet. We do it bit by bit. And I really think that your approach, or the approach to how you scale on social in terms of being present on all the different platforms, is also part of this. So the first thing I want to say is, don't be on all of them at once. You can build up to that, but don't start with all of them at once. And equally, if you've got one that you're really enjoying and you think, yeah, I could do a bit more, great. But why not look to take on one other? Look to go on Pinterest, or look to start on LinkedIn. And we'll also say how you can find the right one for you. But one at a time. It's not a race to see who can be on every single social media platform at a time. And I know when I take on a new platform, usually when they are introduced, or when I want to do more on them, I don't try and attack all of them super hard at the same time, because if I want to get really good at one, I'm going to have to spend a little bit of time focusing on it. It doesn't mean that with the ones I've already learnt about, I can't keep them going well, like plate spinning, isn't it? You just keep them going because they're already spinning, but you don't want to start them all spinning at the same time, because that's a lot. So pick one to start with, and then I would honestly look to just increase by one at a time. It doesn't mean you can only do, well, I've done one this year and I can do one next year and one the year after. You can add those ones in quick succession if you want to, depending on how you find the platform, whether you find it useful. But also, you want to give the platforms a bit of time, because you're going to need to learn them and they're going to need to grow. And you can't judge whether or not something has been a success by spending 2 weeks on it and going, well, this is rubbish. Because it might not be the error of the platform. It may just be that you don't know about it yet, which might be that you haven't given yourself enough time to learn and to do that really, really well. So how do you pick which platform? How do you decide which one to start with? And the first thing I would think about is, where is your target market hanging out? I say target market, and that sounds like it is a business term. It is, but it can also apply if you want to be an influencer, if you want to just simply share your life because you're passionate about anything. Where are they hanging out? And really think about this, because that's where you want to go. It's great to be the kind of trail, what's it called? Pathfinder. I say trail leader, but trail leader, pathfinder, it's all good. It's good to be that person. But it's hard to be that person, because you're starting a whole new thing on somewhere you haven't been before. So if you can think about where your target market hang out, and you can do this in different ways. You can do this by speaking to friends who have got those interests that you're looking to tap into, to talk about, to share. You can use things like Facebook groups, particularly if you're on Facebook, and ask people in groups where you've got shared interests what their favourite platform is. Where do they like to spend their time? Where do they consume the kind of content that you're looking to do? Maybe you're looking to share style guides and how to wear different things. Where do your people go for that content? Are they heading over to Pinterest? Are they heading over to Instagram? Are they going over to TikTok? Or are they spending more time on different Facebook pages? Where are they going? And you will find, if you speak to other people who have got completely different interests to you, that their people hang out on different platforms more. So, one example would be LinkedIn. LinkedIn is known as a B2B or business to business social media platform, by which I mean that people on there are usually, you do get a few more, definitely lately I've noticed you do get a few more kind of human interest stories coming through. But generally, stuff seems to have a more professional edge. So it's who's been promoted for this at work, what certification or qualification has such and such gained, what initiative is someone else spearheading, what has such and such graduated from university with or doing a placement, or what has a company offered a college that's going to help them. So generally on LinkedIn there is a professional, I want to say undercurrent, but it's probably more than an undercurrent. But that's great if your business involves other businesses. That's a really good place for you to hang out. It's somewhere you can share your expertise. If you listen to the podcast I did with LinkedIn absolute wizard, Jennifer Corcoran, she was saying the percentages of people that use LinkedIn versus the percentage of people who just lurk, if you're in that very small percentage that are posting, you are really, getting yourself out there and doing amazing things. And that's really, really cool. But if your customers are not business related at all, if you're putting together outfits and style ideas for end users, which sounds, it just sounds like such a horrible phrase, but that is a legitimate phrase. For people that are just using the platform because they love it and it's a hobby, LinkedIn might not be the most obvious place to get the most traction in a short amount of time. It just might not be. And that doesn't mean it's not a good place to be. It doesn't mean that it's somewhere you might never want to be. But in terms of going for where most people are, it might not be the place for you to be. But you've got to do the research to do this. So the social media platforms that we use do have information available that tells you loads about the users. So if you're at the point where you're not sure which one to go for, because quite a few of the ones that your preliminary round of research, that they've uncovered more than one absolute certainty, do a bit more digging. You can go to any search engine and search whatever the platform is, numbers, demographic information, and you will get it. I've just for the purposes of this, I did a bit of a search, and I've now got the digital guide for 2021 up for various different things, and it is showing me lots of information. It's showing me how many male and female Facebook users it has across all the different age brackets, and showing me the biggest age bracket that uses Facebook and how many men versus women use it. It's really interesting to get into this, because when you think of who you want to appeal to, this can help to make that decision for you too. If you are not quite sure what to do, it can be a good way to finish that off. Also have a think about your content style and where that's going to sit. Again, these are like pieces of a jigsaw puzzle, because a lot of the platforms that we're talking about here have a lot of users. Even the smaller platforms still have hundreds of millions of monthly active users, and the big ones have billions of monthly active users. So there's still a lot of people, even if you pick one with a smaller number of users. There's a lot of people there. So think about the content style as well that you enjoy producing and that you want to produce that aligns with your business or your brand's goals, because you might find that that's also a thing. So if we think about a few of the platforms that we know and love, obviously things like Instagram do cover a lot of bases. We've got video, we've got short form video, we've got long form video, we've got lives, we've got posts, stories, all sorts going on there, which is great. But if you're really focusing on those short 15 plus second clips, because that's the way you want to present what you're doing, TikTok could be a great consideration. If you want to be putting together amazing, beautifully visual things for people to integrate into, I don't know, their interiors or cookery tips or things like that, Pinterest could be absolutely bang on for you, because that fits in well with the style that does well on Pinterest. So also think about the content style that you're going to enjoy producing, because if you want to be showing up consistently, you've got to enjoy it. Otherwise, it's just a really hard slog, especially if you're doing this from a fun point of view, because you want to do it. It's hard enough when you're doing it from a business point of view, when you have to keep showing up, and we know that consistency is really important. So you've got to try and stack the odds in your favour. Make sure your people are there, and make sure you're picking the right content style that the platform supports well. A lot of the stuff you do can be repurposed. So I was chatting to someone the other day about video, and of course, video works well on so many of the platforms, but maybe it's in a different orientation or a slightly different format, or it's cropped differently, or it's a different length, or you can have different effects. But it's good to know about this so you can make those decisions. Think about the platform that you are going to want to, you're going to want to enjoy using. It matters, your enjoyment of it. Because if you enjoy it, you're more likely to spend time on it. You're more likely to engage with other people's content. You're more likely to engage with when people post on your whatever. You're going to put the time in because you're going to want to be there, or at least want to spend some time there. Versus if it's a platform that you fundamentally hate, you're probably not going to want to hang out on there very much. And that is a fact to consider. Another thing could be competition. There is, obviously, if you're an early adopter to a platform, you are likely to gain more traction there if the platform is successful. Of course, there have been many social media networks that have launched over the years that have not been successful. And therefore, if you have put, obviously, that energy and that effort into it, it is a shame. But there are platforms that are obviously a lot more competitive than others, because there are a lot more people using them, producing high quality, engaging content. This does not mean that you should not enter into it. But again, if you're choosing between a couple that are very, very similar on everything else you're assessing, it might give you the nudge to go to the one where there's less competition. Maybe there are, maybe like another example I gave earlier, there are a lot more lurkers and consumers than posters, meaning that when you post, you get more eyeballs on your content, so you rise above the rest, rather than a place where there are billions of users and everybody's posting and there's a lot of noise. So that is another consideration too. Look at the features that the platforms have and how they align with you. Do you love doing off-the-cuff content that you can chat about as you're walking, or that you can just chat about and not have to heavily edit and do these things too? Do you love live content? Is that really what works for you, and you like to be able to bring people live content, behind the scenes, shows and events? That's what really works for you. Think about what you're going to be delivering and look at the features that align with that, and also obviously with your business goals or your brand goals or your influencer goals. The platform features do change, adapt, grow and alter all the time. Just looking at LinkedIn with their stories, or Twitter with fleets. Not that long ago, the introduction of reels and guides to Instagram. And there's just so many different things popping up and being improved and tweaked and adjusted all the time, that it doesn't necessarily mean that that feature won't be available on a different platform, but it might just mean that for now, it's good that if you're having to choose between a few, and you know that lives are going to be absolutely up your street, and this platform here does them really, really well. People engage, and that's a really core part of that platform. That might be the place that you should be. So look at it all, because you're going to have to be, in order to get real traction on any platform, you're going to have to be consistent. You're going to have to keep showing up, even when you are tired at the end of a long week. You are going to have to keep showing up if you want to get the traction for the platform, for what you're doing that you deserve. Because a lot of this stuff, it is to do with this endurance and this grit and this determination to keep going. Doesn't just apply to social media, it applies to anything in business. Anything in life, let's be honest. If you try something for a couple of weeks, you're not likely to see those changes. You stop having chocolate bars for a day, you're not going to lose loads of weight, because you're just not. You go on one long walk. It's a brilliant start, but it doesn't mean that you're there. It's not the complete destination because you did it once. And with social media, you need to be able to commit to giving it some time. You may find after giving it some time that you hate it, that actually this isn't the platform for you. It's not what you thought. The people aren't there. Meh. And you may find that even if you try every angle, it's not for you. I don't know of a case where this has happened, because usually with specific tweaks around content, caption writing, form of content, messaging, all the other things, most platforms can be made to work better. But still, you need to give it some time. You need to be pushing out that content. You need to be seeing what's working, building on that, improving what you do in line with the feedback you've got. That takes time. So you need to be committed to showing up consistently on whichever platform you pick. And for that reason, you need to make sure that all of this stuff's in line, because you want to be giving yourself the very best chance of getting in front of the right people. So when it comes to which social media platform should you pick, to start with, do your research. There are amazing social media platforms out there, and they all do slightly different things. They all have a slightly different demographic. They all have slightly different forms of content. But they're there for you, and they're there for you to use and enjoy. And the good thing is as well, is that if you make a mistake, if you get involved and you think, yeah, this isn't quite what I thought it was, that's okay too. You will have learned so much through the journey that you can then apply to other bits of your journey, to other things. The next platform you try, is that it's never wasted, really. So don't become, we can become really sort of paralysed by not knowing what the right decision is. And the thing is, the worst thing to do is not make a decision at all. But do the work, do the research, find out what you think is going to work for you and why it should work for you. And then go for it and give it a good go. Give it a good go. Put some time into it, because I've also found with any platform that I've kind of taken on or that I've tried to learn, the time I really start to get that traction is when I really put the effort in, when I really focus on it, when that is my key form of what I'm doing. That is where the magic happens. So I hope that's helped you. I'd love to know what you think. Please do screenshot, share to stories, or feel free to DM me. I would love your feedback on this. Which platform did you start with? Have you felt the overwhelm about not knowing what to do? Let me know. I hope this has helped, and I can't wait to catch up with you next week. Take care.